2420. My name is Christine Robinson. I'm with the Elks National Foundation, and today I am joined by Irissa Machetta, a 2020 Top 20 Most Valuable Student Scholar, sponsored by Clear Lake Kemah, Texas Lodge number 2322. Irissa is our second place scholar. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Irissa Machetta. I am 17 years old. I've been born and raised in Spring, Texas, a suburb right outside of Houston. I have a younger sister named Katrina, and a little bit about myself is I've always been interested in STEM. However, the more I tried to pursue it, people kept saying, STEM, that's a boy's thing. So I tried to walk away from it, but then I realized the more I tried to walk away, the stronger pull I felt towards STEM. And so later on, I ended up establishing Miss STEM International, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering girls to pursue STEM fields and to empower them to become future leaders.
That is so great. And can you say the name of the nonprofit again?
Yes, ma'am. Miss STEM International.
Okay, great. We'll have to link to that in our show notes. And how long have you been involved with STEM?
So I've been involved with STEM somewhere or another throughout my life, be it through tutoring or mentoring. However, I really became, I guess, my whole life started revolving around STEM after Hurricane Harvey hit my community. Families were absolutely torn apart. People were just filled with sadness because their homes were destroyed. However, I really used STEM to bring back that happiness and passion to my community. A great example of this is after Hurricane Harvey, it was around August, and people were still trying to rebuild their homes. And so it was Halloween time, and people were still super sad about this. And so Miss STEM decided to create different science experiments for kids to come and do during Halloween because it was raining after all. And one of the moms went up to me. There was a little girl who was so sweet. She kept coming back to my booth 6 or 7 times that night. She just was absolutely enamored by the elephant toothpaste activity we were doing. And the mom actually ended up talking to me a little bit afterwards. She was saying how this was the first time she saw her daughter laugh since Hurricane Harvey. And I was literally in tears after that. I was like, that is the sweetest moment ever. After that, I was so happy that Miss STEM was bringing back smiles to my community, a community that has already lost so much.
That is so great that you were able to have that firsthand and experience with someone who had directly benefited. That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So you're off to college in the fall. Where are you planning to go to school, and what will you study while you're there?
I plan on attending Harvard University, which is my background behind me. I also plan on majoring in bioengineering with a minor in finance. A little bit about why I chose bioengineering is that I've been inspired by NASA to go into the aerospace fields, and I really want to incorporate bioengineering technology into aerospace. An example of this is, I'm not sure if you know this, but when astronauts go to space, they lose a little bit of the muscle. It's called muscular atrophy because in space, there's a lack of gravity, so the muscles you don't use end up dying off. And so I want to be able to apply the technology that NASA is using to prevent muscular atrophy in astronauts and apply that to patients here on Earth who suffer from muscular dystrophy, which is the same type of disease. However, they are losing their muscles from genetic disorder rather than going into space.
That is such an interesting connection, and that sounds so great. We'll be excited to see you as you study that field, and I'm sure you'll take it very far. So thank you so much for sharing that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I can tell you're very passionate. Okay, so my next question is, what does service mean to you?
Service means to me is helping others in any way you can. My sister once taught me that even going next door and seeing how you can help your neighbors is called service. It's called being there for someone in their time of need. And so that is something I always try to do, be it going and volunteering at a local food bank or going and interning at an equestrian therapy place. There's different ways of service that you can help others. And you should really find something that is A, helping your community in any way possible, and B, something you enjoy. If you don't enjoy, I don't know, making food for others, maybe not volunteer at a food bank, but go outside and make a garden for someone. Because there's a multitude of ways of doing service, and each way has so many benefits for your community.
That's great. And as you know, the Elks National Foundation is very passionate and exists to help people build stronger communities, and service is obviously a huge component of that. So we know that's important to Elk Scholars as well. And a requirement to be an Elk Scholar, actually. So what is your proudest achievement?
So there was a young girl who I tutored throughout my life, and she's a 7th grader now. However, a few years ago, she was actually shot visiting her mom, and she went to the hospital. She was in the ICU for a very long time. She got better. However, her academics really suffered from that accident, and she really stopped, like, I guess, living life. She didn't really see the point of it anymore. And so I tried to, like, mentor her, take her along whenever I hung out with friends. I wanted to teach her that there is a meaning to life. And later on, my sister was very involved in this program called Teen Court. And I was like, Adriana, you should come join me. And so one day she came and she decided to participate as a lead juror, which is where you go out and say kind of the verdict for the defendant. Yes. And so when she was there, she stood up in front of the entire courtroom and said his verdict. And I probably should not have done this, but I stood up and clapped for her because she was so amazing. And I've never seen her take that, I guess, that initiative. And it was absolutely inspiring. And that's probably one of my proudest moments.
That's huge. And that I love that it is about something outside of yourself. That's really cool. So thanks again for sharing. And what is being an Elk Scholar going to help you do?
So, as you said earlier, Elks is very dedicated to service, and that's something I really incorporated into my own life. I always try to give back to my community in any way possible. An example of this is as a high school junior summer part, I participated in a bunch of research at Rice, MIT, and NASA. However, while I was doing that, I was also very active in Rotary. I was very active in MISTIM International, spreading it to 10 different countries. I was also very active in other organizations. And so that's something I want to do throughout my life. I want to continue to trailblaze into NASA, into bioengineering. But while I do that, I want to give back to others. And I think the Elks National Organization is a great way to do that. I really wanted to participate in the Baltimore service trip that was supposed to be coming up, but because of COVID, everything was canceled. But whenever those do open up again, I want to be the first to sign up because I absolutely want to give back to a community that has given back so much to me.
Yeah, we can't wait for the service trips to open back up.
Yes, ma'am.
So what was your favorite part of the top 20 leadership weekend that was for the first time ever virtual on Zoom? What did you enjoy most about that?
One of the activities we did was to get to know the other scholars. There was a shield we drew, and each part of the shield was a different aspect of the scholar's life. I really enjoyed getting to know the other scholars, and I remember one of the other scholars, he had a passion for calligraphy, and his entire shield was so beautiful. And I was like, wow, I wish I could do that. It was amazing. And I love getting to know each and every one of their passions. Someone drew a robot, and the robot was so, I guess, meticulously drawn. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so each of their stories kind of made me like feel more connected to the scholars and to the Elks community.
Yeah, I've attended the in-person weekends, and obviously we were all sad that it had to go virtual, but it was so awesome to see every one of you connecting and making those scholar connections that are so important to the #Elks family. And it still happened virtually, so it was just really great to get to see that. And I'm glad you got so much out of that weekend, even if it was in a different format. And Okay, so I was gonna ask about the shields, but you already talked about that. That's so great, thank you. And okay, so what were you doing when you found out that you were a top 20 MVS scholar?
This is a funny story, actually. I knew the email was coming that day. However, I was doing like this MIT Moss Tech interview, like meeting at the time. We were trying to brainstorm how to kind of make the program better for future generations. And so I was in this meeting, and there was a video. Okay, and I see the little pop-up on the bottom right-hand corner of my screen saying Elks National Foundation, and that's all it said. And I was like, that must be the results. Oh my goodness! And so I was like, you know what? I have to wait. I promised I would be at this meeting for an hour. I can do this. Well, my mom and my sister started like moving downstairs, and I was like, why are they moving? Did they open the email? What's happening? And so I was like, I can't wait. I have to open this thing. And so I opened the email in the middle of this meeting, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was jumping up and down. And then people were just watching me in the video, like they were messaging me on Zoom saying, are you okay? What happened? And I was like, yes, I'm fine. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then the person who was leading this meeting, Miss Grant, she was like, Iris, what's your input on how the future generations can kind of impact and empower most tech? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I got this. So I was trying to like stay focused while I was opening the email. And then at the end of the meeting, I was jumping up and down. My mom and my sister were crying. It was an absolutely amazing moment.
That is finding out you got a top award in the middle of the Zoom, like, new reality, right? You were on a Zoom call. That's so cool. Or I'm assuming it was a virtual meeting with Zoom or something. But that is so cool. Thank you. That's awesome. I love to hear the stories about how scholars find out that they've won the top award or the top 20 award. So thank you so much for sharing. That's really cool. Very memorable story.
Yes, very memorable.
And what is something that you're passionate about outside of academics and maybe outside of service?
Yes, ma'am. So something I'm passionate about. Let's see. Something I'm really passionate about is something that my sister actually introduced me to. I mentioned it earlier. It's this program called Teen Court, which is kind of giving a voice to the voiceless. The families that we work for are people who cannot afford defense attorneys. And so they train teenagers like my sister or myself to go and defend these teenagers who commit misdemeanors. And you find that the crimes they're committing is less of, I just want to rebel, and more of, my community is not, my family and my community right now are in ruins, and I was just trying to find a way to help, and the way I was trying to help was not a right way. So I can give you an example of this. There was a girl who I was defending at one time, and she was in the foster system, and she was trying to walk from the foster system, from the house she was living in, to her dad's house, even though she was not supposed to. And as she was walking, she ended up passing curfew, which is why she was arrested. And she was saying how she just wanted to see her dad one last time before he was taken away from her forever. And so, like, these families are going through so much already. I just want to be there and help defend them in their time of need, because they have already been taken away so much, the families, the best friends, and it's really hard for them to say that they're the ones being punished when all these bad things are happening to them.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's so awesome that you're able to help communities in need, specifically someone who is maybe like a peer. So that's really cool. Okay, last question. If you could say anything else to the Elks, what would you say?
I would give them my sincerest thanks and love. I am very grateful to the Elks National Foundation and the entire Elks family. The Elks is all about benevolent service, as you said, to our community and to cultivate good fellowship. I am looking forward to my next journey at Harvard and beyond, where I aspire to make a difference in my community. So thank you to my Elks family for supporting me in my journey.
Great. Yay. Okay, so that's it. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Thank you again for having me today. I am absolutely thankful for having this opportunity to thank my Elks family and get to know you and the other Elk Scholar again during this COVID pandemic thing. So. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you like the show, please hit the like button below and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us. Yes, the button below. And thank you for helping us build stronger communities and connecting with the #Elks family. We'll see you next time. Thanks.